lemurs in Madagascar is a very long tail. For different species, lemurs come the same territory, no competition, because different food.
I'm so struck by how the guides can know and identify all the different plants and be able to tell all the different uses for them and things like that.
Working with the guides today was really impressive, just seeing the way that they know their natural environment so much and that they're able to use that to then sort of teach people who aren't from around here, who that can kind of create an economy for Madagascar.
Something like ecotourism can be done correctly, and when done correctly you can preserve both the nature of a place and also help the people who spend some time and effort and love to maintain that place. So I thought that was very interesting and a very good example of that.
Witness it living in its environment and behaving almost like you're not even there is absolutely amazing, and just kind of being part of that and being able to bear witness to that is such a privilege and such an honor.
It's being as respectful as possible of the animals' space. Definitely not trying to provoke them in order to get a shot or anything, but doing what we did today and what the guides prompted us to do, following them or even calling out to them and waiting until they turn, just following their lead.
It's to show people outside of here that they should care and that they should stop doing things that are going to damage the environment. Through climate change, Madagascar is one of the countries that's expected to be hit the hardest for a lot of reasons. And I think as a kind of Western researcher coming here, I have an obligation to communicate that vulnerability and that magnificence to other people to make them care too.
When you study these things from afar, you only read about the extremes, about how terrible everything is and this really scary statistics. And I think this is important because it shocks and inspires people to want to change that. But that being said, like flying into the country and seeing all of the tracts of empty land and walking through the forest and feeling that like I was so far away from civilization and society, or going on the night hike and being able to see the night sky like I had never been able to see before. It was a really nice reminder that nature still exists. Nature is still thriving in some places, and that there is very much something left to save.
We didn't really have to experience that directly, but you can kind of really feel the closeness to nature and kind of the dependence on it and reliance on it.
In comparison to like what I was experiencing in those places, where like I had like a consistent meal, breakfast, lunch, dinner every day, like it was expected. These people, like for snacks, when they get hungry, they don't have like bolos or goodies to snack on. They have, a lot of these people have. In Taravatu, they had bushmeat.
I could imagine sometimes that if there was a drought or a storm or a flood that destroyed people's crops and livelihoods, how that could possibly affect their health more. And just being in close proximity to that made it much more of a reality to me.
The community had just like woven themselves into the palm roofs, and that's kind of what was shielding them from the cyclones and the food insecurity and just the general kind of lack of resources. Good planetary health research, in my mind, would be research that you can use to improve human health in some sort of, if it has been affected by global environmental change in some way.
I think that I see planetary health as kind of the interaction between the environment and humans and how they both impact each other. And I think in Taravatu was one of the places where I saw it most clearly, because on the one hand we were working on our chicken and poultry intervention, and on the other hand we watched the family eat bushmeat. They killed a small bird and also a tenrec, I think, and that was a very real source of nutrients for them, but also one that's rapidly diminishing just because of environmental change and like human intervention and things like that. So it was really interesting to see how like people need bushmeat to live, but people living is causing bushmeat decline. But at the same time, the interventions that like we're working on with Chris, with the poultry intervention, is designed to give people a replacement for bushmeat that meets their nutrient needs and is like good for their health, but also good for the environment. So I just felt like that was sort of one of the most concrete examples of seeing planetary health in action.
And one thing that I find really inspiring about Chris's research is that he does research that has real application and is really engaged with the community. He gives back to the community. He also knows the community and engages with them when he's here. And that's something I really want to do with my research. I think it's really important to make sure when you're coming to a place like this that you're giving back in some way, and that whatever research you're doing does have application for the people. And so I've been thinking a lot about how that involves a lot of different steps. You have to know the language. You have to somehow make the communities comfortable with your presence there.
Really acknowledging the humanity and how tightly interwoven the people are with their environments, and always bringing in that human component, and not forgetting that this work that we're doing and these people that we're trying to help, like they have like faces and names and stories, and that even if we have this data and create these more like generalizations, that there's so much humanity in the work that we're doing, and that it's so important not to forget that.